Grab a pint, grab your lineup. We're about to tap into fantasy. Welcome back to Tap Into Fantasy, the podcast with a professional fantasy mind and an amateur beer palate. I'm Lance Gandy. You can find me on X at LG_fantasy. Ladies and gentlemen, the drought is over. The months of mock drafts, endless debates, and watching baseball highlights like you cared are done. Football's back, your fantasy team is alive, and your group chat is about to get toxic. Today we're breaking down the Week 1 injury questions and spotlighting the players you need to watch in Thursday and Friday's season kickoff. Buckle up, it's fantasy time, folks. Before Week 1 injuries kill our vibe faster than a flat beer, a toast. May the best drafts of your past be the worst of your future. Let's tap in. Okay, this episode won't have a beer review. I reviewed too many beers over Labor Day weekend in my home league draft, and I'm recuperating, as old men do. This is going to be a pretty short one, just going over injury-related news and the Thursday night and Friday night game. Throughout the NFL season, I'll have shows every week. On Tuesday, going over injuries, waivers, the Thursday night game, the rando Friday game when there is one. Then another episode on Friday with a full beer review like you're used to, and going over the weekend and Monday games. So go ahead and hit subscribe. It's free, it helps me out, and honestly, it makes you like a really classy person. And you are classy, I can tell. Okay, let's move on to the Thursday and Friday night games with some injury updates. Let's start with the Thursday game. So Landon Dickerson, the Eagles' Pro Bowl guard, had surgery a few weeks ago on his meniscus and now has a back issue. He was seen at practice on Tuesday, but I just keep an eye on his status. A.J. Brown was dealing with a hammy issue earlier in training camp, but he's not on the latest injury report, so he should be able to dominate this week's secondary. On the other side, Tyler Guyton, the Cowboys left tackle, is questionable with a knee injury. He was a full participant in practice. He also said he should be good to go, but players always say that, so an official decision hasn't been made yet. If he can't go, it could be a long night for Dak and company. It probably will be anyways. Their cornerback, Trayvon Diggs, is working his way back from knee surgery, and he was also seen at practice. He's trending towards playing. Jaden Blue and Miles Sanders should also be good to go. For the Friday night game, Jalen Royals didn't practice with knee tendonitis. It looks like he'll be a game time decision. Hollywood Brown should be good to go after that ankle injury. The Chargers' stud left tackle Rashawn Slater will miss the season. That's a bummer for the whole offense. Their guard, Mekhi Becton, should be a full go. Najee Harris's eye seems to be working fine now, which is a surprise. I don't think he'll get a full workload in Week 1 if he does suit up, so keep an eye wide open for that. Quentin Johnston was cleared from concussion protocol, and Trey Harris is still questionable. I mean, he wasn't going to play a huge part in the game anyway, but there's no telling if he plays yet. We'll go over the Sunday injury reports on Friday's episode, so make sure to check that one out then. Okay, Week 1 is here, and the fantasy gods are already laughing at us. Let's figure out who survives the first round of chaos.
Every game, every player, every week, let's tap in!
Okay, the first game of the year is the Dallas Cowboys heading to Philly to take on the champion Eagles on Thursday night. I will start with them Cowboys. So I've been preaching against Dak this whole offseason, and this week one matchup will probably show you why. Yes, he now has a decent three-headed pass-catching group in CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Jake Ferguson, but this Eagles defense is deadly. They have some relative question marks at the cornerback spot opposite Quinion Mitchell and the second safety spot, but they're just going to sit back and dare Dak to pass it on them. Philly was far and away the best pass defense last year, and while that could take a little step back in the first part of this year due to those question marks and just normal regression, this Dallas rushing attack doesn't scare them. It's more like the molasses march for this bunch, probably the least talented backfield in the NFL. They should be able to stay in light boxes and just bully this offense. I expect a good amount of attempts, and maybe that gets him enough yards to be sort of relevant, but expect some turnovers. QBs I would start over Dak this week: Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, even Bryce Young. Obviously don't drop him if you drafted him, but expectations are pretty low. So nobody should be desperate enough to have to start one of these running backs unless you start a million flexes in your league. But if somehow all the other running backs on your team slip on banana peels and break their ankles on Wednesday, Javonte Williams will, I guess, be that dude for Dallas. So Miles Sanders and Jaden Blue should also get some run. So it'll be pretty ugly all the way around. Just stay away if at all possible. CeeDee, still an excellent start, even with Vic Fangio hinting that Quinion Mitchell should shadow top receivers this year. The script will likely be in the favor of Dallas throwing the ball a ton to catch up, so just don't get cute. Pickens should be downgraded in this matchup. The Eagles allowed the least amount of 20-plus yard throws last year, and that's mostly what his role will be, with CeeDee and Ferguson being used more in the underneath and intermediate areas. He's definitely startable, but I'd put him more in the low-end flex conversation instead of like the low-end wide receiver 2 bucket he was getting drafted near. Their cornerback 2 is a bit of a question, but the safeties should be able to limit most of the big plays. So Jake Ferguson is sort of a borderline start this week. I like him more in PPR as I think he'll get a decent amount of work underneath because, like I said, Philly will be out to just limit the big plays. But touchdowns, going to be hard to come by. If you're unsure about streamers, like I would start Hunter Henry against the Raiders over him or Tyler Warren against Miami. All right, let's move on to Philly's offense and Jalen Hurts. Easy smash start. There's not much to say. Dallas doesn't have a chance against the tush push with the weak spine of their defense, even with the addition of Kenny Clark and the Parsons trade. Like Jalen's tush will be bruised and tender after being pushed so many times. Another no-brainer is Saquon Barkley. The Cowboys gave up over 2,300 yards on the ground last year. Just to let you know, that's the opposite of good, and I don't expect him to be much better this year. Even with Landon Dickerson questionable, I expect Barkley to feast on them. So A.J. Brown is either going up against Deron Bland or Trayvon Diggs. Neither is a deterrent to the force of nature Brown is. He's a must start, although I'd pray for a long touchdown in the first half because the Eagles should be able to just run the game out in the second. So this is one of those games that Devontae Smith can do a disappearing act sometimes. I don't think there will be more than 30 pass attempts, and they'll make a concerted effort to get Brown the ball early. He's still startable, but I think of him as more of a flex play this week, and he has a low floor. So Dallas Goedert is also kind of a fringe play at tight end. Last year he went 2 catches for 25 yards and a tutty in his one game against Dallas. With Brown, Smith, and Barkley all healthy, it usually makes Goedert sort of the odd man out so I wouldn't expect a high target share. I would start Ferguson in this game over him, but I'm not expecting fireworks from either of them. This episode is powered by W Energy. It's my go-to for a clean boost with zero crash and zero jitters, whether I'm grinding out drafts or just need that mid-afternoon push. No junk, no guilt, just focus. Hit the link in the description and use promo code TAPINTOFANTASY for 10% off. W brings the energy. You bring the winning picks. And because we don't sit on the couch enough on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday, there will be a Friday game this week. The Kansas City Chiefs against the Los Angeles Chargers. For the Chiefs, you're going to start Mahomes if you drafted him. The Chargers were a top 10 defense in most metrics last year, but they could be picked apart by elite QBs. Without Rashee Rice for the first 6 games and just an old, crusty, slow Travis Kelce, I think the Chiefs play a lot like last year with the quick RPO, boring, high success rate offense they had last year. A more experienced Worthy will help, but Mahomes will probably be ranked around QB 7 or 8 for me this week. Like, if you're still starting him, just don't expect it to be beautiful. And the Chargers mostly play with light boxes and lost their best run stuffer in Poona Ford this offseason. So Isaiah Pacheco should be able to get some running room. Plotter Kareem Hunt is listed as his backup, so I don't anticipate him coming off the field all that much. He's a nice RB2 option. Plug him in and let him do his I'm pissed off at the world feet stomper routine to a decent game. Worthy should be the de facto wide receiver 1 on this team with Rice suspended. He should be able to step into that same usage he had last year without Rice, and he was developing some chemistry late with Mahomes. They talked up the deep ball like all offseason, so they could let loose a few of those as well. If one of those hits, he could easily be a wide receiver 1 this week. Hollywood Brown should be good to go, but he's just more of a hindrance to Worthy. I expect him to be a low target share sacrificial X to draw the safeties more than anything. He's ranked down there like close to Marvin Mims and Adam Thielen, so more of just kind of a DFS target or deep play than anything. Yes, I joked about Travis Kelce being old and crusty, but with no Rice, he should be able to do his here's a nice little spot in the zone with nobody around shtick to a decent target share. He doesn't have the yards after catch ability he once had, but he still has that mind meld with Mahomes. Like, if you drafted him, just let the old man cook for now. On the Chargers side of the ball, I'm worried about Justin Herbert's whole season. Like, when Slater went down, I wrote him down as somewhat of a bust, and it doesn't seem like any of the young receivers are taking the job away from Keenan Allen. Greg Roman also isn't known for designing an incredible passing game, so this should just be severely limiting. Like, I would try to get away from him this game in a 1 QB league. Like, go get Jordan Love, Jared Goff, or Bryce Young to stream. KC should be able to keep the ball for a long time, just limiting the amount of overall plays the Chargers can run. They're a top 10 run defense, and the skill players outside of Ladd McConkey are gross. In a 2 QB, you just have to throw Herbie in and hope for the best. So when Najee Harris magically opened his eye after the fireworks incident, all O'Marion Hampton owners just sighed and wept. Of course, now they have Harris listed as RB1 on the depth chart. Just Harbaugh and Roman's style. I think they'll be around 50-50 in carries in most games, but Harris could be on a touch limit this game given his lack of practice time. Hampton should be the passing down back, but Roman's offenses just don't even utilize that very much, so it could just be a nasty game for both of them. Hampton is a low-end RB2 this week. I wouldn't play Harris in hardly any format unless you know he can even see the field. Ladd McConkey is a baller. May see a 50% target share. I kid, sort of. He's obviously in your lineup. I think Keenan Allen gets the start in 2 wide receiver sets for now. He could see a decent target share just out of necessity. He's around where Hollywood Brown is. Like, keep him on your bench unless you just need a body. I think wide receiver 3 for this team rotates between Quentin Johnston, Trey Harris, and Keandre Lambert-Smith. They're all just going to cannibalize each other. I wouldn't pay much attention to any of them. Will Dissly is listed as tight end 1 on this depth chart, but it's also probably a timeshare between him and Tyler Conklin. They don't utilize much in the way of tight ends anyway. Just stay away until you see what the snaps look like between them. They're very far off the starting radar. Love the show? Hate it? Either way, leave a review. I thrive on your chaos and compliments equally. Okay, well, I hope you got something useful out of this Thursday and Friday fantasy breakdown. But that's going to do it for this episode of Tap Into Fantasy. If you liked what you heard, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps the show find other degenerates like you. Hit me up on X at LG_fantasy. Thanks for tapping in, and until next time, happy pours, happy scores.